Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of We Should Have Recorded That with Phil and
Adam!
Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Phil, I have missed you.
I've missed you too.
Yes. So, like, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We didn't have a customary episode because I sort of handled that one solo.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, you handled it by yourself. Last
Yeah.
week, we had to postpone because our guest wasn't available.
Yes.
So, it's been 3-4 weeks since I have gotten to log on to a call with you.
It has been a while. It's been, as to borrow the title of another podcast, it's been a minute, you know? So
With Sam Sanders, yes. Well, Phil, I have missed. This is an inside joke for our poor audience, but I have missed your luminous skin.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Maybe we'll talk more about that later.
No, I don't think we should unpackage or explain that at all. I think we should just,
Just
let it be.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, so before we get to our conversation today, audience, if you are enjoying our conversation, please share, subscribe, comment. It is really nice. Like, we're really kind of picking up some traction on YouTube. People are watching us on YouTube. So if you are watching us and you find it interesting, or if you just have, you want to say, I don't like how you sound, like, any comment is a good comment. So please share. And the best way to share is through voice message. We would love to hear your voice. So, so yes. So Adam, we're kind of doing this kind of rolling, ongoing series. I think we're going to start tonight. So
yes. Well, actually, before we get into the series, we usually do listener comments, right?
That's true. Yes. Do we have comments?
I do have 2 comments.
Okay, great.
Can you believe this? You don't have any?
I don't have any comments, no.
All right. Well, I'm going to share my comments, both of which are immensely silly. So, I don't have permission to use their names, so I'm just going to say the friends. So, one friend listened to our podcast and said, okay, you need to invest some money in your recording devices. Which I completely agree with, since I record on my phone, not exactly world-class microphone. And yes. And then I... apparently, you mentioned in some episode that you had studied computer science, and the same friend thinks you should have stayed in computer science rather than becoming a poor musician. And then, all right, equally funny, another friend. Another friend. I can't believe this. Okay, this makes me so self-conscious. But I shared with another friend our podcast, and I shared the audio version. Like, I think Spotify. I shared the Spotify link, and he said, "No video? Handsome face like yours needs a video."
Oh, yes. So,
and I'm like, I'm now going to make Phil tear down all of the YouTube stuff. No, please. I'm hideous. All right. No. So, those are the listener comments for this week.
Well, I take that back. I do have, as I was thinking about it, 2 quick ones. Mine are not as funny as yours. Although, to comment, Spotify now offers video podcasts. So,
oh no,
we can now upload our videos directly to Spotify, and they can get the audio and the video from the same place. Now, I have not really done the research into that, so that probably won't happen this week, but in the future. You can, if you can watch us offline in the future if you want to. Eventually. So really quickly to my comments, and then we're gonna get to our guest who is
Yes.
very
Then we'll
patiently
get
waiting.
yes.
We had some comments on my mom. I talked to my mom who listened to my podcast to our episode where it was me and my sister, and she was just proud of us. I mean, like a mom, like a mom always is, right? If you need a compliment, ask your mom. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I mentioned to my parents, because I do family, we have a family video chat on Tuesday nights, right before we record this podcast. And so I usually mention, that I'm, okay, guy, I have to go. I have to log on to this podcast. And, and it's very clear that my parents don't understand what a podcast is. They were asking how they could play it, and I'm like, well, just play it in the car, like when you're driving, whatever. And this was beyond their technical expertise. So maybe the next time I go to Pennsylvania, I can train them in the ways.
Yes, the witchcraft of playing digital audio.
Yes, I don't remember the last time I actually listened to the radio, right? I've got 400 hours of podcasts and probably just as many music downloaded to my phone. Like, who listens to the radio?
Listen, I even realized this. I bought, one of my first adult purchases after I got a job, like a real job, was I bought a new car. So I bought like a 2019 Mustang, no CD player.
Yeah, right.
No, so I was like, okay, well, I guess none of the CDs that I still use, I'm going to be able to. I was like, all right.
Yes, exactly. It's a whole new era. Hey, dear audience, speaking of our guest, he bought a 2019 Mustang with no CD player, and his name is Chandler Smith. Chandler, welcome.
Nye. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we are excited to have you. So, by way of introduction, we'll ask Chandler more questions about his biography, but Chandler was a classmate of Phil's at Delta State and a student of mine at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. Chandler, you graduated the year that I left, or you were about to go off and student teach.
Yeah. I was about to student teach the year.
Okay. So I was with Chandler for his junior and senior year there, and or your senior and super senior year. I'm not sure how we're counting it, but anyway, he's not saying anything.
Well, okay. I did the double major. I was a percussion. Right. I was the instrumentalist and voice, so I did that extra year to get the methods classes out.
Oh yeah, right.
Instrumental methods class out of the way. But yes, I guess super senior.
You were not a super senior because you were a slouch. Major. You were a super senior because you were an overachiever, getting two concentrations. So, anyway, Chandler Smith has gone on to have a great career, and I'm very proud of him. I'm just going to get that out of the way. I am immensely proud of him. And so I may be a bit gushy this episode. So Phil, you have to be the bad cop in this episode, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna try. But before we continue on with our conversation with Chandler, as I was saying earlier, we want to do kind of this ongoing series of like where are they now? I guess from people.
That's a good name for it. Where are they now?
Okay, let me write that down. Okay.
So yes, Phil is right. We're going to do a series of episodes. Where are they now? With former students of mine, and I'm really excited about that because, it's human nature. Chandler, maybe you can chime in on this. It's like geography and time separate people, and unless there's a reason to get back together, like a reunion or some sort of event or a podcast, then you just don't have a reason to catch up with people who are important to you. And so we are making a reason to catch up with people who are important to me.
I was thoroughly excited when you asked me because I haven't seen Phil or Adam in a really long time. That's also the first time I've ever called you Adam.
That's my name.
Just BT Dubs. So I'm going to have to get used to that. Okay. But, I mean, the first time that we have spoken in, I don't know, probably since 2017 when I graduated is this right now. And I'm so excited. Like, we went and rewatched your episode with Caitlin Barron to study up on how this was going to go to prep for this.
Yes, it takes so much study.
Right.
But
I hope
you know,
you took good notes.
this is the Chandler Smith that I remember. He was always prepared. And if he wasn't prepared, he faked it well.
Fake it till you make it.
Yes.
Fake it till you make it.
So, Phil, anything else we need to add by way of introduction?
No, let's get into it. Yeah.
All right. Well, Chandler, let's start in the middle of your life.
Okay.
Graduated from Delta State University with a music education degree. Mm-hmm. What happened between then and now?
So I went and student taught at a high school near Jackson, Title I high school near Jackson. I student taught in band and choir because that was double emphasis. Mm-hmm. And after I'd finished that first semester of student teaching, they hired me on in that January to finish out the rest of the year as the assistant band, assistant choir. So I was over the middle school band and the middle school choir. And then this particular high school had a lovely choral program. So I also assisted with their pop a cappella group, their show choir, and the high school choir. So it was plenty on my plate. Oh, and the high school band. Yeah. I assisted with all of that. Wow. And then, so I went and got my master's. Mm-hmm. That's a funny story. That's a funny story. I had
Can we hear the funny story?
Sure. Okay. So Dr. Potter, when he was my teacher, Dr. Potter. So when you were my teacher, you used a lot of Carol Kruger and Dr. Carol Kruger and Gordon's music theory and all of that in the classroom, which I was super lucky to be able to have. I credit most of my skill to you. Those 2 years were utterly amazing. But I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Kruger at when I was student teaching with Amy Lee at Richland. Yeah. She ran the Lakeshore Choral Camp, and I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Kruger. And through our conversations, she had mentioned that whenever I wanted to go get my master's, that she would love to work with me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I wanted to keep going my education while I was going. I was afraid that if I ever got out, I would not go back. So that I applied to go to Valdosta State. I resigned from Richland. I was ready to go, and then her husband got terminally ill. She didn't know if she was going to teach anymore. There was a lot of up in the air, and so now I was without a job and not a master's school to go to. So luckily, Adam was friends with Dr. Napoltz, who was at Mississippi College, which is right there in Jackson, and so I applied and I got in there. So after I graduated and did my student teaching, I went and did 2 years at Mississippi College to get a master's in music performance choral conducting. That whole spiel. That was super fun. I met a lot of great people, a lot of good friends that I still talk to today, and everything. Yeah, it was super fun. I was super excited to do that. And so after I did that for 2 years, stop me if I start to ramble.
No, this is terrific.
So after I went and got my master's in those 2 years, I actually interviewed for a couple of jobs. One in Texas, a couple in the state of Mississippi. I really didn't I'm single, don't have a family, so I have nothing to hold me down anywhere, so I could go wherever I wanted to. And I happened to be on family vacation, and the choir director at my high school, the middle school director, called me and was like, we're going to have an opening. Are you available? And I was like, yes, I am available. So I went interviewed, and they gave me the job. So I've come full circle. Mm-hmm. I'm living with my parents to pay down student loans and going back to the same high school that I went to when I was in high school. I'm just now the choir director. So full circle for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes and some of the same teachers are there and principals are there. So sometimes it's a little weird for them to be like, Mr. Smith, how are you this morning? And I'm like, oh, like the first year, probably the first year, which was Corona. So not on top of that, it was COVID-19. The first year I was nervous to go to the office because as a student, I never went to the office. So like for me to go like, okay, I need a purchase order. I got to go to the office. Like I had nerves because I had to go to the office. I never spent any time in the office. Anyway, yeah. So that's what I'm currently doing. Hanging out, teaching.
That's really cool. I mean, we've talked about it before, and I think I've mentioned it with my sister because she was talking about how her path to special education. And it's like it's not a direct line, right? Like you I mean, you had the setup, right? You had the job right in the middle of the year, right, which is like scary already. And I mean, I was the same way, but you didn't have to go somewhere else. The place where those students already knew you. But then you was like, I know, okay, I'm gonna keep going my education, and then that, but then it all works out, and so. And I know you're a person of faith too. So like that, how it just works out, like, with God. What was that like? Can you just give us a little insight on like how was it trying to figure all that stuff out?
So I personally think like it was super a God thing. Like I feel like every step I was like, all right, I'll do this. Like, I mean, it was this whole idea that, okay, this is what you're showing me. I guess this is what I'm going to do. And like, I've learned a lot these past 2 years. Like one, I was doing Corona, but this year is really my like first year of like teaching choir and everything. And so like, I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about my students. And I think that I'm a perfect fit for the high school that I'm currently at right now. But like, I just think I was put there because the kids needed me, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm just proud to be able to serve the program that gave me my start. Yeah. I mean, my choir director who was at Newton County, her name was Suzanne Kane. She's the reason I'm a teacher. So like, it's really, really full circle even then, because now I'm her. Yeah. Actually, oh my gosh. So my first year, I had a senior so the seniors. My first year had Miss Kane their freshman year, so they had her at the same. So one of my seniors, after one day of rehearsal, we were just rehearsing outside at this point because we were spread out and I rehearsed outside, and we were coming back inside to pack up and go home, and she said, you teach like Miss Kane. Literally, I started to tear up, and I was like, oh. She was like. I didn't mean. No, so it's like, no, it's okay. You just gave me something. Like I didn't expect you to say that. Yeah. It was one of the greatest moments I've had.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So, I wanted you to unpackage that a little bit, Chandler. Like, Miss Kane was a huge influence on you. What? Maybe tell us more about that, and maybe if there's anyone else who inspired you to become a music teacher in the first place.
Okay, so here's the thing. I was a band student, 7 through 12. Okay, so I joined band. So I joined band, and actually the band directors who are currently there were my band directors when I was in high school as well. Wow. So it's really full circle. So anyway, so I was 7 through 12, and then Newton County, the high school I work at, actually had a show choir, and had a show choir for a really long time. And they were these students who got to perform, and I was interested in that. And so I tried out. I want to say, like, now listen, my memory is bad. I'll just let you know my memory's bad. I think it's been replaced by like Baroque and like classical and like a bunch of different, and even that it's probably a bunch of useless knowledge, actually, not even useful knowledge. So anyway, I try out like 2 years, freshman and sophomore year. I try out, don't make it, just straight don't make it, can't do it. I'll be completely honest. My singing was awful. I don't think I could hold a tune in a bucket. I was flat, consistent, like I was just bad, okay? I was a bad student. But Miss Kane, okay, she looked at me, saw that I was a really hard worker, saw that I had at least a smidgen of talent in some area. And so she said, you know what, I'm going to give it this kid. Gives me 2 years of show choir. I learned so much about myself. I learned confidence. I learned performance etiquette. I learned like it really was the time that I found like this is me and I don't care who you are. I'm going to be me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
live with me. And so she invested in me and just continued to do so. Like she challenged me and was just there as a mentor the whole entire time. And all the way up until I got into show choir my junior year, I was going to be an aerospace engineer. Okay. I wanted to work with Boeing. I wanted to work with NASA. My plan, I had planned out since middle school, was to be part of the first manned mission to Mars. I don't want to be an astronaut, but I'd like to work on the team that sends astronauts.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to do that. Okay. And well, after I get into show choir, and I have this amazing experience with Miss Kane, I'm like, okay, I don't want to be an aerospace engineer. I think I want to do what she does. And so I know I don't want this to sound cliche or whatever, but she invested in me. And so I find that it's my duty and it inspires me to pay it forward and invest in the next.
Yes.
I want to invest in Chandler.
Yes.
The next one. Like I want to be that person. Like that. I just feel like that is a noble thing to do. And I think that's what my calling is. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm here to tell you, I know that in college, like when you're in music education and you're going like perfect this, good performances, excellent. I've learned more in this past year, and I'll be quite honest. Mm-hmm. Sure, the music is something, but I'm first and foremost, I'm trying to teach adolescents how to find beauty in a world that is otherwise ugly through the medium of choral music. And sometimes, and I'll be honest, sometimes like when I was in college, I felt it with Adam when he was the conductor. I felt that he did have some focus on this. I mean, also, he was ruthless on his standards of excellence for the Delta State Chorale when we were there. I remember that. Ruthless.
I'm just ruthless.
So I understand that that's ultimately one of the goals, but I've come to learn now, like, if that kid right there, so if that kid has progressed, I tell this to my students all the time. The name of the game is progression. If you go from can't match in pitch to match in pitch, all right, babe, that's a win. That's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would rather invest in a kid like that and have a slightly not perfect performance, but let them have life-changing experiences. And I mean that's what I've really learned. So, and I think this is just my observation. I'm not that old. Like I haven't been teaching very long. Sometimes when we get right out of college, we're all like, all right, I want to take my choir to national ACDA. I want to and we start to weigh our successes with accolades like that. And as soon as I got on this side, I'm like, I just want my kids to have a life-changing experience. You know what I mean? I mean,
but do you hear that? Just a life-changing experience. Life-changing experience is way more important than recognition, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But of course, that goes back to how do you define yourself as a conductor or teacher? Or how do you define success as one of those?
Yes.
And that's something you got to come up with.
But the thing, Chandler, there's so much you're putting out right now. I mean, I think like it's not even a cliche. Well, it is a cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason, right? Like these things are true, and I feel the same way. Like like that. My most important thing is to help that shy student come out of their shell. Encourage that student who is who knows it but is lacking the confidence. And then and we talked about this in our episode of process versus product. Maybe you watched it, but if we could talk, we could maybe deal with that too. And like the excellence does not have to be they don't have to be diametrically opposed. Like when you invest in the student, they will rise. They will rise. I'm getting very excited right now. But anyway, go. Yes. Yes.
I wish more. Like, I wish people understood that. So, like, and here's the other thing: administration and community and other people. Like, if you're coming in and taking over a successful program, or even just starting a program, like they're expecting you. One, superiors, good concerts, this, and this. And so it's extremely hard when their only concept of success for a music program is like, especially because marching band does like championships and all this stuff. So like their only concept of success is superiors, good concerts, national, like invited to ACDA, like that's their concept of success. When in actuality, when you're in the trenches with me, if I can get that, if I can get the altos to sing this alto part, matching very good, like that's a win in my book. And so it's hard for you know, us as conductors and directors and music teachers to convey that to the community without, for them to understand what we do. I find that that's a challenge. Just in my personal opinion, I do find that's a challenge. But I will say this: so like I've learned this, the kids. If you have a relationship with your kids and like you are invested in them and they know that you like care for them. If I looked at them and I said, "Hey, I need you to put a crescendo right there," they all would put a crescendo right there just because I asked them. Do you know what I mean? That's very different than me being a demanding conductor going, why are you not putting that crescendo there? You see the crescendo, like there's a difference there.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
No,
you may
it's
think
it's so true.
You may earn more acolytes with, you know, this kind of relationship than you would being a, you know, demanding conductor. Just saying.
Well, there are just some things that aren't worth it. Right? Like, and that is, I've said this before. I think even on this podcast, I will choose to live in obscurity and do things with what I feel is integrity before I choose recognition via a means that doesn't feel like one of integrity to me.
I completely agree. This reminds me, okay, this is a problematic movie, but have you ever seen Mr. Holland's Opus?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I remember being in college in music education and just aspiring, and I remember watching that and I just sat and ugly cried for like I'm talking about just weeping at the very last one. And I was like, you know what? That he's right. He looked around and he thought he was not successful. He looked around and all that entire auditorium was full of his legacy. Like, yes. I want that. I want to change the world through the minds of my students.
Mm-hmm.
I was in middle school and I was like, I want my name in the history books. I'm going to be an aerospace engineer, do it, and like, send a man to the Mars. And then I was like, maybe I can change. I'll change the world a different way. And so I've shifted to one student at a time. I think, hopefully.
Yeah, right. I've said this before, right?
Positive impact.
Our job is people.
Mm-hmm.
Music is our medium, and we are so blessed to have music as the medium we use to get to people's hearts. But the job is the heart. The job is the people.
Yeah.
And Chandler, that's just you have no idea how much it encourages me to hear you talking about your job in that way.
Well, I was lucky I had Miss Kane who was like that. But you are also like that as well. I remember you being like that. You took time and you took rehearsal time and you talked about text and you talked about how to do this. And you created an environment that was open and in our rehearsals. the most family-like atmosphere I've ever felt is under your direction at Delta State, as a choir. Like I am super thankful for the environment that you created, and the relationships that you, what do you call that? Not cobbled together, guided, facilitated.
Foster.
The relations, yeah, the fosters. That those relationships that you foster. I mean, I would chop off my left foot to go back and relive those 2 years one more time. All the stress, everything, just to have those experiences one more time with those people in that room.
Yeah. God. I mean, yes. That's part of the. Thank you. First of all, I guess I should say thank you. But, yeah, I do. I'm very fortunate. I'm still doing that. I really. I don't think it's me. I really think it is. Okay. Oh, but okay. Let me explain. I know what I want, and there are some things like when I know I want a choir that sings in tune. Well, I have a systematic approach to get the choir to sing in tune. Okay. Other goals, like I want the choir to be a family. I don't know how to do that. I just pray that.
Okay. Well,
right. Like I just, I think it
works.
Well, and you know what, Phil? Write that down as an episode idea, like how to foster community in your choir.
I remember I struggled with that when I first got to New County. I emailed you and I was like, all right, help me. I need help. You did this. And you sent me all these books and I bought every single one and I've dived in and I've tried to do it because I wanted to replicate that magic that you had.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that's the thing. I don't think it's magic. I think it is some pretty simple things, right? Like, one, genuinely care about your students more than you care about the product. Genuinely care about the human beings more than you care about the sounds they make. The rest flows from there. The rest is like all logical based on that, right? Like, give students ownership over the program. Make sure that the student leaders have like real say and real input, like not just figureheads, but they like actually have a role in contributing to decisions that are made for the ensemble. Like take time to make sure that the students are okay. Take time to make sure that the students understand the significance of what they're doing, not just robotically doing it to the best that you can force out of them. Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, I'm gonna put both of these ideas together. We in some of our in some of our best writers like Lewis and Tolkien, like this idea of old magic. Like what you're saying, yes, is logical, but yet there is a magic to it. There is, like it's mystical. The way, those simple things create something so deep, like this environment for risk.
Well, I think that's, yes. Yeah, that's where we get to the fact that we're doing music, right? Like, if we were trying to create community in our... Okay, I'm going to talk about something I know nothing about, so please forgive me. Please forgive me. But, like, if we were trying to do that, like, foster community with the exact same principles in our, like, biology lab, I don't know if it would, right? Like, give students leadership, care about this people, care about your lab technicians as people and not just their job performance. Like, okay, all of that is true. But yes, there is the mystical part, the, like, why are we able to get to the soul so keenly and quickly and deeply in choir? It's the music, right? Like the music is magical.
That's one of my favorite conversations to have with my students, and I try and do it at least twice a month, once a month. I go, y'all, do you know that this whole music class in the middle of high school, that's an American thing. The other countries don't do this the way we do it. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, the goal of public education is to create a well-rounded human being. And so you've got math and reading and all this. And I said, that's this side, that's this part of it. And I said, we like figured it out that there's another part, the mystical part. And I was like, this is the part that feeds your soul. And they're like, whoa, I mean, they're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Chandler,
No, this is good.
My dog has made many a cameo
Sorry.
on this podcast, so you have nothing to apologize for.
Bad.
Okay. That's perfect though. It's sort of keeping us moving along.
Yeah, moving along.
All right, Chandler. I'm curious.
Oh yes.
This was towards the beginning of your conversation about your path. You said that since you began teaching, during COVID, through COVID, now, hopefully, please, dear Lord, at the end of COVID,
Yes.
You said, I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about my students. I'd love to hear more about what you've learned about yourself and what you've learned about your students.
So, one thing that I've learned about myself is and it goes back to what we were just talking about, like investing in students. I have learned. So when I was getting my master's, I was making all of these aspirations. Like, all right, okay, yes, to have the relationships are important, but that when you're in school and you're getting all this information and you're trying to you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Like all of that went to the back of my head, and I was like, all right, how do I make a national? Like, how do I get ACDA? Okay, my plan in the next 5 years is to get Newton County at the state, the state level, and perform the state ACDA. What presentations can I do at state ACDA or national ACDA, Southern Regional? I'm thinking about all right, what am I going to do? Okay, first year, COVID, we're not singing inside. Okay, so what am I doing? What am I teaching? Where are we going? What we talking about? So I played a lot of I did a lot of music stuff. I did a lot of feeling stuff, and I learned right then and there. I said, you know what? None of that ain't the goal anymore. The goal is to teach them and have them when I can have them. And so my definition of success, or where I thought my career was going, changed drastically. Yeah. And so I learned all right, I'm just happy to have my students. I'm just happy to be, with them in some capacity. And so I learned that about myself. And then the other thing was, Richland was Title I. Comparing Richland to this, it is a rural high school in Mississippi, but the demographics are vastly different. There are a lot of challenges that I faced at Richland that I don't face here at Newton County. Now, there are other obstacles, but I learned a lot about my students and what you have to do what's best for your program and your students, and including in their background, what do you think serves them best? Yeah. And I think sometimes we see a successful program or we see a successful teacher and we go, all right, I want that, give me it. And it's not all a one size fits all. It's like you've got to learn, you've got to figure out what you're going to do and why you're going to do that and how to best serve your community. So I learned a lot of that, and I learned a lot about what was best for my students and what challenges these students faced versus what I had at Richland. And so yeah, I'm super thankful to have those opportunities.
Yeah.
That thought, what you just articulated, that's really just trying to be a good teacher, right? And you realize that, we kind of, and we get better at this. I know Adam is way better at this than we are because he's been doing it longer. But you go into that room, you talk, you listen, and you I know, I hear what they're not saying in what they're saying. And I think that's great. Yeah, I'm what did they need? Lifelong
learner. I've come to say that I loved, and this is okay. So I do miss college quite just a little. I'll just be quite honest with you. So the one thing that I miss is, number one, being in an environment where, like, choir. I mean, when I was in college, choir was everything. I was in a bubble. I enjoyed all kinds of nerd conversations, like how do you tune overtones in a choral setting, or like why do you stand here, like really down deep in the weeds of like all this stuff. So I miss those conversations because now I'm like, okay, do mi so, okay, that's a triad. Do you know what I mean? So like it's a different thing. And the other thing is, and I've learned this about myself. And I've got to work on it. It's one of my weaknesses as a teacher, and at least I've acknowledged it. So when I was in college and I was a double major, if I didn't do something or I didn't practice or prepare enough, like it only hurt me. Like I was only responsible for me. If I don't do it now, I've got 58 kids who have nothing to do that day, or like we're not going to be able to go to Riverland because I forget the bus ticket or something like that. So like, I've come hyper aware that I'm responsible for 58 other people as it stands right now. Yes. So like, I got to work on that.
Yeah, no, that is a very valuable lesson. But I understand exactly what you're saying, Chandler. Like, there is this energy when you are a student at whatever level. I mean, like, because there are other people doing the same thing that you do, right? And then you go off and you're the teacher, and all of a sudden, you're the only one who cares about like which formation the choir is going to sing Baroque polyphony best in.
And not only that, like I literally am the only high school director in my district. There is one high school in my school district, so it's just me and the middle school director. I literally am on an island.
Wow.
So like, I have a friend who's teaching in Texas, and he's teaching in like Fort Worth ISD, where there's like, I don't know, a bunch of different schools. Right. And he was like, so who's your like fine arts director? Who do you have to go to get this approved? Blah, blah. And I was like, dude, listen, if I want to change something, I just change something. Like, there's nobody over me other than like the athletic director. So it's my program. If I want to use Talkademi, they're going to use Talkademi. If I want to use, listen, I flippin' love. I'm an instrument. Like I learned counting, okay, and I learned Talkademi when we got up there with Adam and everything. Yeah, you listen to me. I had a moment. Okay, I'm teaching first block women's choir. I've got probably 11 students in there, not as big as it's supposed to be. Okay, I can talk about that in just a second. Not as big as it's supposed to be. I was like, all right, y'all, watch this. And I was reviewing something. I was like, 4-4. And they read something right. They Talkademi'd it right off. And I was like, okay, here's the secret. Watch. Talkademi can move. And I changed it to like 3-2. And they were like, oh, yeah, this is easy. Ta-ta. And I was like,
yes.
Yes. Do you understand what y'all don't comprehend what you just did and why it's such a big deal that you could do that? But I'm going to let you know that it's a big deal.
That's right. Because when you go from the frickin' numbers where everything is like sight before sound, I'm sorry. Oh, you get me so
I know.
Like,
I feel that
it's when you do sight before sound, that very simple task becomes this like mind. You can't do it. Yes. If you go sound before sight with a sound before sight system, it's like. They could do something and they don't even understand that it's complex because to them it's simple.
Yeah. That's like I passed out. I love doing this. Oh, I absolutely love doing this. So we do flashcards, we do all kinds of things like that. I passed out this piece of music and I make it a point. I shut my piano and I go around. And I said, all right, y'all, here we go. Let's read it. And I put a little pitch. I established tonality. I said, all right, ready. And we read the freaking piece, and they were like, okay, yeah, this was easy. I said, I said, there are choirs currently in this state who can't do what you just did, just BT dubs, but they have no idea because they've never been taught not how to do this. So they don't know. They just think this is choir.
Yes. And college choirs.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that's
college
so true.
choirs.
And I think, that's very typical, right? That students only know their own experience, so they don't know when their experience is really exceptional, and often they don't know when their experience is really bad. It's the only experience they know.
I make it a point to tell them every time they do something like that. I'm like, all right, y'all, you have no idea what you just did, but I'm letting you know that I'm super proud of you. And like, yes. So here, you want to hear one of the challenges I've had to face while I was at Newton County?
If you're
Okay.
privy to share.
All right. So this is what's happened since I was here the first year. Okay. We had a 7-period day. All right. 7 periods. And yeah, it was great. You know, I had probably 90 in the choir. No, I probably had 80 in the choir, which is great. It's a 4A school, right? So there's probably 9 through 12, 530 kids. So I had about 80 of them. That's really good.
That's awesome.
I bumped it up. I lost about 10 seniors, and I gained about, I had 89 audition and make it. So I was like, heck yeah, 89. And then my school district goes to a pure block schedule, which is 4x4. And sports gets its own block as well. And, you know, which one are you more likely to drop? The football in the South or, you know, choir?
Wait, one of the 4 blocks of the school day is for sports?
Welcome to Mississippi in the South. Dead serious, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes, one of the 4 blocks is, fourth block is athletics. So fourth block, if you're in football or baseball or sports or whatever, you go to your athletics. So that's fourth block. So my numbers went from 89 to, I currently have 57. And that's because I said that choir had to be double blocked because I had to know the personnel and choose stuff and all that. The first day of school when I saw my numbers, that went out the window. Originally, I had 40. I had 40 on my roster from 89. 50%, almost a 50% decrease in who was going to take my class. Wow. And then I was like, no, I don't care. I don't care if they're in choir. I don't care if they've ever been in choir. You give them to me, get some number. And so I was trying to get my things back up. And like this program that when I was in it at its height, there was 150 in the high school at a 4A school, which has 530 in it, 9 through 12. Like, we were humongous.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the scheduling has been a challenge this year.
Yes. Well, and Chandler, tell me this. Have you found that COVID also has made, I mean, I still believe there is a way to make singing really meaningful, but it is not as fun to sing with restrictions as it was before.
Okay, so you're probably going to freak out, all right? It's okay, all right? Currently, my school district has no COVID restrictions whatsoever. Masks are optional, and I have probably 2 kids that wear masks, and no social distancing, no anything. So, I mean, we're singing like a real year. And
I'll be so jealous.
So I was really worried about this when we first started back. Like I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to spread like this. It's going to go. And so we've got like at the beginning of the school year, we got a wave of like kids who are quarantined. We haven't had a kid quarantined in probably, I don't know, like our entire school population. We're rural high school and like county school. So like, I think that we all have either had it or have herd immunity against it, and so like nobody's getting it anymore. Well, it's gonna come back. I know it's gonna come back. I know it's gonna be bad, and as soon as we're gonna go outside and we're gonna spread back out. But
yeah.
I mean,
that's great. I'm so jealous. I really am. I mean, you know, I'm in New York, and I will absolutely adhere to the rules of my considerably more liberal state. But you know, so I will happily comply with the rules, but I cannot wait for the day that those rules go away.
Well, I think I want to transition us because we're getting close.
We are.
To our,
sorry.
No, this is great. Don't apologize.
Do not apologize. Right. This is
okay.
Fantastic.
But
I feel like, Phil, we're gonna have to have Chandler on for another episode.
We should. Yeah. We definitely should. So maybe we can, if we are gonna do that, then maybe my next question will be moot. But I was gonna ask if there are any last thoughts. But if you really want to come back, let's just pause it and do our final 2 segments and then leave them one more.
All right. I
think that's a great
idea.
I'm
free. I'm free. Let's go.
We can make this. We can make this series.
Yes.
We can,
Yes.
because Chandler has a good podcast persona, don't you think, Phil?
He does. He does. He does.
Okay,
He does.
well, thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, Phil.
So our last two segments, Chandler, we have current events, and then what did we learn during the episode?
Okay.
So, Adam and I, as teachers, we will demonstrate, and then you can follow.
Okay. Excellent.
Adam, would you like to go first with the current event?
A current event.
Or I could go first. I'll go first. I'll give a quick one.
Go ahead.
One of the ones that's been kind of on my mind is the supply chain issues that we're facing in the United States right now, or in the world actually.
Yeah.
And the thing of what we realize is that no one person, no one president, no one government, no one company can fix these things. It is a problem we have to work together on. So yeah, that's been on my mind. So
Yeah. Oh, speaking of a problem we have to work together with, I've been thinking a lot about all of the revelations about how Facebook chooses profit over health, safety, whatever. And I've mentioned on the podcast before, you're getting all of these comments and whatever from on our Facebook page, and I'm no longer on Facebook, and I feel like the more I learn, the more I appreciate that. Like, I'm just like, okay, no going back for me. But anyone who's listening to us who is on Facebook should still like and subscribe.
Get that shameless plug. Let's go. Get that plug. Yep.
Chandler, what
My turn for current
on
events?
your mind? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I was going to be an aerospace engineer, right? All right. Just keep that in mind before I say mine. Okay. So recently, there was this discovery of an exoplanet on the outside of our solar system. Okay. So it's a possibility that the planet is there, but more than likely it's there. And so this would confirm, we've always thought that, there are other planets outside, but this would confirm that this is an exoplanet outside of the Milky Way galaxy and the Whirlpool galaxy. Come on, that's really cool. I think that's cool. I think that's cool. The other thing is this. It reminds me of this. Like, it puts things in perspective for me. Like, for us to be worried about, like, he said, she said, left, right, blah, 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 blah. This is a mighty big universe to be arguing on the one rock that we are all on.
yes.
Just by the way. So maybe there are bigger things than,
Yes.
polarization of each side. Just maybe there are bigger things out there.
Maybe
You never
so.
know.
I want to say really quickly, Chandler, thinking about how vast our universe is, like, do we really think there's no other type of organisms outside?
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't say that. But no. I have heard that argument quite often, that like there are literally billions of stars, there are billions of planets around those stars, there are billions upon billions of galaxies. Like, for us to be the only ones in the planet, like, that is really astronomically, like, the chances of that are astronomically super low, just in general.
Right.
But we don't know. Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Until that day, right? Until that day.
Well, one of the big revelations from this last year was the U.S. Navy, declassified a bunch of UFO documents. And I was like, interesting, since that's been an observation for, I don't know, since we've recorded flight. You never know. Now, look, I'm going to sound like some alien conspiracy theorist on here. Look.
No, I don't think that sounds like a conspiracy theorist at all.
Yeah. All right. Our last segment, what did we learn? And I went first last time, so would either of you like to go first? Adam?
Yes, Adam, that sounds lovely.
Okay. I Chandler, I don't know if I remember you ever telling me the aerospace engineer thing.
Oh, okay.
So that was fun. But that was fun to learn or be reminded of. But what I did love you emphasizing is like the redefinition of success. What is true success, and how in our field true success looks different than a lot of people think it looks. True success cannot always be measured in the ways that people want to measure our success. So that was just a huge encouragement to me to hear tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about you, Phil?
Daily
Oh, go
thoughts.
ahead,
Go ahead.
Chandler.
Go ahead, Chandler.
Oh, you. Oh, okay, okay. All right. No. I was just saying that I have to keep reminding myself that every day. When they don't sing the major chord quite in tune, and I have to go, not quite. Let's try that again. I have to keep that in my head. Success is not this. Success.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a daily mantra.
No, I mean, Chandler, there was so much. I think because I think about this, reflect on this myself, like on my own path. So like you're like hearing about you making the decision to go study with Dr. Krieger, which I also was able to meet virtually because Adam sent me some professional development. I was able to meet her, and that was I had this foundation, and then like it's so much more, right? It's like so much more out there.
Yes.
And then how you got to where you eventually were, and so that was I love hearing that, how things just work out, and like you say, full circle comes full circle. So yeah.
Okay, so this is what I've learned. Number one, I learned that Adam did nothing to create a family environment in the choral setting. It just happened to come out. Just happened to happen. No, I'm joking. No, I'm thoroughly. This is what I've learned, and I thought this is what was going to be one of my conclusions, and this is confirmed. I have learned, okay, that my time at Delta State with the two of you was one of the most life-changing experiences that I've ever had. For me as a person and me as a teacher, it's an honor and a privilege to have been able to experience that with both of you. Like, that's what I've learned. And I've learned, like, just talking with you again, like, it's bittersweet because it's bitter because I want to go back and relive that and just experience those 2 years. And then it's sweet because I get to continue through life and carry the lessons that y'all taught me, like, into the next chapter. And then because I'm a teacher, and here's the cool thing, because I'm a teacher, I get to teach those lessons to the students, and it's like sales and mitosis for me. Like, the information just goes out there. That's the coolest thing. That's just what I take away. That's my conclusion.
I love that. It's true. Yeah.
It's true.
Both of you are the product of my teachers. The teaching profession is, as you put it, Chandler, it is always about passing it on.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wow. Well, audience, I hope you have really enjoyed this as much as we have. I mean, I wish we could be at a table with coffee or non-alcoholic beverages. Adam is at a Wesleyan school. I had to get a dig in, but if you enjoyed this, please come back and or comment. Thank you,
Yes.
Chandler.
Thanks for having me on. Anytime.
Chandler, really, truly great to have you on. Thank you so much. All right. Phil, anything else for the good of the order?
That's all.
Okay, then. I will say bye for now.
Adios.
Goodbye.